everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Vegan Proteins Muscles by Brussels Radio. My name is Danny.
And I'm 𝐶𝐿,
And this is our 89th episode. Hey everybody, welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope everybody is having a lovely end to their summer. I cannot believe that we are coming into September. I was writing some of the emails the other day for September, and I couldn't believe that I was typing in September and some of them towards the end of September. It's just crazy how quickly this year has flown by.
Danny, what do you care? You love September. You love the fall. You're like a classic, you got like classic white girl fall vibes where it's like cinnamon lattes and pumpkin spice and all that stuff, and I'm like right there with you. Like, release my inner white girl, bring me to all of the festivals, and let me have lots of fun enjoying the fall in that kind of way. I mean, that's what it's like out here too. It's picturesque in New England.
I didn't say I was mad about it, and I don't think that white girls have any kind of monopoly on loving autumn. I do love autumn, and we're almost there, so I'm very excited about that. And Spirit of Halloween is already open, in case you didn't know. And we already took the kids there, or I already took the kids there once. They had a blast looking at all the giant spooky animatronics. We'll probably visit it like 10 more times before Halloween. They don't like grasp that the store closes for the majority of the year, so they ask to go to the Halloween store all year. But I didn't realize it opened this early, so it was very cool to take them so early on.
Are we going to costume up?
I think so. They definitely are. They absolutely are. And they've told me that they want to be everything from a sandwich to a vampire to some character from some kids show that I'm not really familiar with. Like, 2 months, I imagine, is probably going to change like another 24 times.
What about you and me?
I have something simple that I can do while I'm putting children's costumes together.
Matching couples costumes, like my favorite thing and your least favorite thing, right? Like themed stuff.
Yep, nope, I've never done that.
Come on, I know you want to.
Anyway.
Truth be told, I am a little depressed about the fall because my energy conservation is like on overdrive from prep, so I just know that I will not be able to participate in September. I just don't have the energy to, because this is the tail end of my prep and I start my season in October, November. So that's bumming me out. I'm looking for the holidays, but I'm gonna live vicariously through my niece, my nephew, Mama Koala, which is how I address my mother-in-law. Her name is Laurie, by the way. And you obviously know Danny, she's Koala. But yeah, I'll live vicariously through y'all.
And 𝐶𝐿 is very deep into his prep. His energy is super low, and his hunger is super high, and his fun meter is at like a 0 at the moment.
But that's okay, because I can just screw a smile on my face and just smile while I talk, and you'd never know. Psych, you would know after talking to me for about 60 seconds. It's a bit much.
Yeah, what you guys don't know is that we've sped 𝐶𝐿's voice up 150% on this podcast so that he can sound normal. Just kidding, we didn't do that.
In other news, Danny and I flew out to Atlantic City like ballers. Not like ballers, but it was kind of fun flying out.
We flew Spirit, try not to be jealous.
In our defense, they're the only airline that flies out to Atlantic City, and we didn't want to go to Philadelphia. We wanted to go right in. And we went there to case out the joint, and it's my clever way of saying we wanted to check out the landscape and what everything would look like where we're going to host Plan Built at Mr. America, and make some plans with the promoter and be familiar. That way, when we actually get there, we know what we're doing and we're able to plan some stuff. Speaking about Plan Built, we have a fundraiser happening right now, and this is to raise money for professional media production and also for travel, so that we can do this thing up properly and represent for the community the way that you want us to, for the animals. You can check out the link in the show notes. We have swag and your chance to be a part of history in the making that you can only have access to through this fundraiser. The team designed a super cool logo. It's this jacked elephant in gold print hoisting a barbell up with its trunk.
Yeah, and there are packages where you can get a t-shirt with that, a t-shirt and a hoodie, all of these different packages, but this is the only time these particular shirts will ever be made. They say Vegan Strong Team on the back. Very cool, very badass. If you want in on this and to support a really great cause, be sure to check out that Indiegogo campaign because it ends, I don't know exactly what day this is going to go up, but I don't know, it ends in like 20 days or 25 days or something like that. And then they shall be no more. So get in on that while you can. And we super duper appreciate everyone's support.
And then finally, I just completed my second show this year, this past weekend. The first show, I called it an exhibition show because I was completely unprepared and bloated and not super lean. And I went out there because I haven't been out there in 5 years. I had to remind myself what it feels like. This show this past weekend, I was leanish, but I went out there super flat, meaning I did not carb up my muscles at all. And I wasn't as lean as I'm going to be in October, November. So a little hard to show up, but also I felt like it was a good show to be at because more time on stage, more of a chance to reflect and think about what I will be bringing to the stage at Mr. America in October and various other shows throughout October and November. And I did not want to derail my plan to become leaner, so there was no carbing up because that would have just slowed things down because I'm really going for broke, scraping at the bottom of the barrel and then hopefully filling out nicely for October, November. So we'll see. It's been quite the path. I started doing this in August and it's now
August.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a long ass time. And it was also the first competition that either of us has ever done that the other one didn't get to come out and support. I wasn't able to actually go and be there and watch it, and it was driving me bonkers all day to know that he was there and getting on stage and I wasn't going to be able to be there and see it, and he wasn't like answering me fast enough, and I was just on the edge of my seat all day. So didn't like that. Hope to not do that again. But
I like being in the zone and being by myself the day before the show. I hate not having the support during the show, meaning I don't mind being at it alone. As a matter of fact, I feel like it helps me, but not at the expense of not having my support, my Danny in my corner. Don't get me wrong, there was a lot of support backstage, but it's not the same as personal support. So yeah, I was pretty sad that she wasn't there, but
it was just too long of a drive. The kids would not have survived that drive out and that drive back. It would have been a disaster. So next time.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about today, Giacomo? Let's get into it.
Oh, sure.
We're dragging.
Yeah, we are. Well, we have so much to share. We have had a lot going on. Mm-hmm. We're going to get into digital wellness, which is something we're going to be speaking about all month, actually. Well, I'm going to be definitely touching upon it, or at least I'm going to try to, because this is a very passionate topic of mine. And I feel like when it comes to digital wellness, what most people focus on is just using less of the digital world. And I think that's a mistake, because love it or hate it, like it or not, wanting to engage in it or not, it is necessary. It is just necessary. And if you don't partake, the longer that you don't partake in it, and the longer that you don't find a way to navigate the digital world in a healthful manner, the more you're going to fall behind. I don't like sometimes I like picking fights with people, but when I'm not in the mood, or I can see that like someone is just not looking for that kind of conversation and they're being defensive or whatever, I'm like, okay, I back off. But the truth is, I see most people saying, hey, I want to be healthier. I don't want to overuse social media. I don't want to overuse my phone. I need less screen time. And they literally just create a hard boundary and they just use less technology. And not only do they use less technology, they talk about how bad technology is and how it's destroying interpersonal relationships and how it's making us more silent than ever towards each other and how it needs to stop and go away. Well, got news for you folks. It's not going away. It's only going to get, I don't want to say worse. It's just we're only going to become more and more integrated in terms of how connected we are through technology. So in my opinion, it's best to learn how to navigate it safely, navigate it well, and create healthy boundaries. So I feel like I want to make that the theme of this conversation, and also to give you some health healthy tips on how to have a healthy digital landscape.
Yeah, this is a topic that I'm super interested in. However, I'm not great at it. You know, I wish that I was better. I've made many attempts at improving my relationship to technology. I'm also a little bit like doom and gloom about the internet as a whole, because I have very strong feelings about what the internet and especially cell phones in our pockets all the time is doing to our collective psyche. And I would bet money on the fact that, you know, in 50 years, we're going to look at, you know, people who wake up and immediately check their phones the same way we currently look at people 50 years ago who used to wake up and immediately smoke a cigarette. Like, I think that that's the way we're going to be looking at our obsessive cell phone use in this era in the future. But, you know, that said, I am just as much a victim of it as anybody else. A victim and a perpetrator, I would say. A victim and a perpetrator, because I actively use social media, and it's part of my job. I don't really have a choice in terms of using it, but I do have a choice in how I use it, and that's where I try to be as judicious as I can be.
And that's a topic that I haven't thought about too much. Admittedly, I could stand to be on social media more than I am in terms of my needs to support the community, support what we do, and put the right kind of information out there. So I am more open to listening to your issues and how you navigate that and what you feel about it.
Poorly.
Well, we have to, this is about wellness, Danny, not about...
Well, that's why this is your podcast, baby, not mine. So this is your episode.
No, we're going to get into this together. So here's what I've seen. I've seen people limit their screen time on certain apps, and like, okay, so once you're on social media for 2 hours, you get the cutoff. Your phone locks you out. Right? I've seen that. I've seen people legit delete social media apps off of their phone, and they can only use it on their laptop. I've seen individuals just stop engaging in social media, like myself. And honestly, I don't think any of those are, well, I think they can be helpful, but I also feel like they're a means to an end. Because like anything else, when you restrict yourself, and you continue to restrict yourself, and it's something that you have to do, or something that you want to do, or a combination of having and wanting to do it, what's going to happen when you restrict yourself? Like the same thing that happens with food, Danny.
Maybe. I mean, maybe. I don't know if I agree with you, because, like, you need food to survive. You do not need social media to survive.
This isn't about survival. It's about the behavior. It's about the psyche. When you're restricting yourself from something that you're going to engage in again, what typically happens is you wind up cheating yourself, or you feel bad about it, or whatever. So I don't think it's a good option. I do feel like it's helpful to be cognizant of how much time you're using on what app, but I think there are better ways to go about it. So here are my thoughts. First off, and this is a strength of mine, and I'm sure there are holes to plug here, but I am all about organization. I think that if your digital world is not organized, you're doing yourself a disservice. There is so much to do out there that if you're just doing it in a controlled or uncontrolled chaotic environment, they're both bad. You should have a setup where your phone is how do I say this? The screens on your phone, like, they're clean. You know where everything is, and it's in a place where if you need to use it, it's there. If you don't need to use it, it's further out of reach. So, for example, for my work apps, I'll put my work apps 3 screens deep in my phone, and then I just won't access them. It's harder for me to access them. You know,
I do that too, but then I just go get them.
Okay. Well, then the other thing that you can do, and this is a newer function, I don't know how this works on Android phones, but I know that Apple just started unrolling this, where you can set up different themes. So you can set up a work theme, you can set up a vacation theme, you can set up a personal theme, and honestly, I haven't had time to get into it, but I'm going to set up different layouts. And not only can you set up different layouts, you can also time when each layout becomes present. So if your work hours are 9 to 5, then you can make it so that your phone's main screen, actually the only screen you have access to, is the work screen from 9 to 5. Rather than restricting, it's a matter of what you're focused on and it's what you're seeing. So different things like that, as opposed to being like, technology, I need to get away from it. And then it's like, oh, well, I can't do it anymore. I'm just going to have to make up for this some other time, or maybe I have to set more hours or less hours. Just set up your landscape in a healthy way so that it works for you, as opposed to you fearing it and then going without. That's my take on it.
I mean, I actually spent a good chunk of time at the beginning of the year doing a lot of the things that you're probably going to talk about. But, you know, like anything else, I think it requires a lot of discipline. And just recognizing how often do you pick up your phone when you didn't mean to pick up your phone? How many times do you open your phone when you had no reason to open? You're checking it for no reason. Like, how often do you pick up your phone to do something, to text somebody, and then you get sucked into some notification and it's 15 minutes later? The answer, I think, for many of us is a lot. And until you recognize, like, start to notice how much control your phone actually has over you, and that is a first step. And I say this from the perspective of like a middle of the age, I guess, millennial. I was born in 86. I'm 36 years old. I didn't have my first cell phone until I was like 16 or 17 years old, and it was a brick. So I grew up without a cell phone. But now, partially because of my job being entirely online, I go from screen to screen to screen to screen to screen all day long, every day. And I feel like, oh, well, I didn't even grow up like this, and it got me good. It got its hooks in me really good. I like shudder to think about what generations they don't even know what the world is like without a phone. They don't even know what it's like to be unreachable, or to literally not have something distract you from all those unpleasant moments throughout the day. Again, all of this, like, I'm not pointing fingers. This is me. I get stressed out, or I'm in a place that I don't want to be. I look at my phone. I start scrolling through something on my phone. I'm not sitting there in those uncomfortable feelings. I have a constant pacifier in my hand. And it's a pacifier that makes me feel like crap for, you know, all these things I need to do or I should be doing or blah, 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 blah. So yeah, a lot of the things, step down off of that soapbox. A lot of the things you're talking about, putting the apps you don't want to use on a later screen, setting up like screen time hours so that it kicks me out of apps. Guess what? You can override that. And I have overridden them like a million times. You know, it's a stop. It makes me pause and go, ugh, that means I've been on this thing for an hour. Do I want to override this? Sometimes it's no. And then sometimes it's, well, I'm working. I have to override this. I have to keep doing this. So I do think it's challenging when you work online. But for people who don't work on the internet, no, I don't think they need social media at all. Now everybody has a phone, but I don't think people need to be glued to it.
No. However, again, there's steps, right? You don't just undo something that has had its hooks in you for a while. You take measured steps to work your way out of it and then get into a healthy landscape instead of letting fear and frustration, and dare I even say anger, get the better of you, right? So the first thing, like Danny said to her point, is to analyze, to take a look at what's happening, to think about how it feels and admit that to yourself, because it's very true, right? We all experience it. Let's get real here. And then the next step is to analyze, like see just what you're doing. And then after that, you start to make changes. You start to make changes to your digital world. And then you start to think about your time, right? Set times for things to happen, right? Like, and then check yourself. And I'm moving a little fast here, but stick with me. So the morning, for example, right? You can have quiet time for an hour where maybe you don't have to lay off your phone completely, but if you're using your phone, it's for something that's going to improve you as a person, whether you're using it for meditation or you're using it to play a mindless game that just gives you some sense of joy, etc., etc. Anything, really anything. Whatever it means to you to have your phone, but to not utilize it like a thing that has the world at your fingertips. You just press a button and boom, you're everywhere. You know what I mean? Like you can use your phone the same way you can use a composition book or anything else. You don't have to use it like this thing that gives you access to everything. You even cut off the internet, for example. Do these things instead of fearing the damn thing. Look, I very much so disagree with the notion that technology and devices control you. They don't control anything. They don't have any real intelligence to them. They come across as intelligent, but it's artificial, and they could theoretically have control over you, but they are machines and you are a person. So you have to take accountability for that. I'm sorry. I don't agree. I just don't agree with the idea of the notion that technology controls you. I just think it's easy to fall prey to it.
I mean, I guess I hear what you're saying. Yes, personal responsibility, blah, blah, blah. And it is a machine and you are a person, but it is a machine designed by some of the richest, smartest people in the world with the intention of commodifying your attention as much as humanly possible. And god damn, are they good at it. They are so good at it. They are better at it than you will ever know. The people who made these things struggle to not fall prey to their own kind of monster that they've created. If you ever watch some of the interviews with these people, a lot of them like feel very regretful about the monster that they've created. I don't know. I get what you're saying. I just have a very different take on it, I guess, because just from a this isn't even just my own personal self, but just from a bird's eye view, I think that on the whole, it's not great. And there's lots of good things about the internet. I love the internet. You get to meet people, find like-minded people, find communities of people interested in what you're interested in. That's literally how 𝐾𝐨𝐽 and I met. But there's something about the level to which we've taken it that just feels really insidious and like a very, very, very difficult habit to move away from. And I say that as somebody who does not have like an addictive personality really at all. But this is very challenging.
Same. I'll give you some background. I, similar to Danny, probably even more so came from because I was born in 80. I came from the era where analog and digital was just starting to cross over. And I spent a great deal of my time at home and a great deal of my time at school learning computers, learning the digital world, utilizing it, growing with it, having a deep fundamental understanding of hardware, software, how to socialize it on it, how to integrate on it. I grew up privileged in that sense, in that was a strong part of my focus curriculum-wise. It was just, I went to specialized school and I learned about all that stuff. So, and I had access to a lot of it, not only at school, but also at home. So I suppose I have a little bit of a different perspective, and I feel more of a sense of control over the giant machine that just continues to engulf our universes, for what it's worth. And I have a genuine interest in it too.
Oh, it's interesting. I agree.
So,
I could talk about it all day. I just don't know if the stuff that I have to say is super helpful to anybody. That's why I wanted you to give all of your worldly advice, because I can tell you all the tips that I've heard, but I can tell you a very short list of things that have genuinely helped me.
Well, the truth
be
is,
more digitally well.
It's blown past me by no one can keep up with how fast things are evolving. And the short of it is that, again, you have to look at your schedule and you have to make hard boundaries. Well, not hard boundaries. You have to make boundaries, and then you have to realize when they're no longer boundaries and they're lines that you're crossing, and then you have to renegotiate your boundaries. Like anything else, you have to outline your habits, and then you have to put them into routine and make them consistent, and then you have to figure out where they're failing you and adapt until you have set, consistent routine that lasts for a while. And know that you're going to fall back, because like Danny said, these are very powerful things that people continue to evolve as far as social media and things that are designed to suck you in, take up as much of your time as humanly possible. So it's going to happen. It's going to happen. But that doesn't mean that you have to be a victim. That just means you have to continue to floss, if you will, right? Like keep yourself healthy. Like you work on everything else. You work on your body, you work on your mind, you work on your digital wellness, right? There was a point in time less than a year ago where I had an hour to 2 hours free off the phone in the morning, and I had 2 hours of no screen time whatsoever, no screen period. Well, that's not true, TV, but we're not going to count that. But 2 hours of no screen time at night.
Just that alone, isn't that crazy? Like 20 years ago, it was all like, get the kids away from the TV. Now it's like, oh, TV, that's child's play. We don't even count it.
It's true. Point is, I had a healthy schedule, and everything seemed like it was flowing well as far as my organization on my phone screen, on my computer screen, and then I got busy this year, and I got stressed this year, and life threw me curveballs, and I let all of those things become excuses, and I allowed myself to engage in sabotage, and I'm at a place right now where I'm tapping on my phone again, and I'm looking at my screens in my computer. I'm like, this does not look the way that it should. I need to do better, or I'm just going to sit here in a like half controlled, half uncontrolled, chaotic state. And none of that is healthy for me. You know, and I'm excusing myself, being like, I'm just busy, but it's not okay. But at some point or another, I'm going to do a little flossing of my digital world, and I'm going to clean it up again, right? And the things that have worked for me are setting up times when I wake up and before I go to bed, and blocks of time on the weekends where I just say, these aren't lines. These are definitely not lines I'm crossing. These are boundaries that are working, and I'm going to stick to them. As in the way that you use your phone or your computer, not using it at all, etc., etc. And what that means for everyone is going to look a little different. And it is totally doable, and there's nothing wrong with checking yourself a couple times a year, just like you do with your nutrition habits. For example, you know, we're not afraid to do it there. Why would we be afraid to navigate the digital world like that?
Yeah, I mean, I totally see the parallels. I do think it all comes down to discipline, just like it comes down to discipline with your training and discipline with your nutrition. I completely agree. But, you know, I don't walk around with a candy bar in my pocket all day. You know, if I did walk around with a candy bar in my pocket all day, I'd probably eat a little more candy than I normally do, right? But I'm walking around with what is essentially a digital candy bar in my pocket all day that can make me feel, you know, quote unquote better at any given second. And man, that is hard to resist sometimes, especially when, like you just said, you're more stressed out. So, you know, we did have some big curveballs thrown at us in the last few months, and I immediately noticed myself using my phone more and more unintentionally, I guess. Because I do think you can intentionally use your phone for good. It's when you don't want to be on it, when you don't mean to be on it and you're finding yourself on it. That's when I get all red flaggy. I do have some things that have been helpful, but, you know, I think if there is such thing as a phone addiction or an internet addiction, I would say that I probably was pretty in it for a while. You know, for good reason, just to be on there helping people, but still, it sucks you in, right? Don't follow people that make you feel bad. Don't follow accounts that make you feel like you're not good enough. Period. The end. If you're constantly looking at people that are like airbrushed and photoshopped and it makes you feel like you look ugly, don't follow them. First of all, it's not real in the first place. It's complete and utter BS. Why don't you see people walking around like that in real life? Oh, because they pretty much don't exist. So they're not real. Don't follow them. They make you feel bad. Likewise with, like, you know, what I lovingly refer to as lifestyle porn. People who just constantly seem to have all of their stuff together, no matter what. They're constantly organized. They're always on the ball. You don't need to follow anybody that makes you feel like you're not good enough. Social media is a highlight reel. Getting rid of that sort of stuff can be really, really helpful. And I've even told some of my friends and family at some points to unfollow me. Because first of all, my life is not perfect. My body is not perfect. Things aren't perfect. But I guess if someone didn't know me at all and they just saw my social media, they might kind of fill in the blanks and think that it is really perfect, but it's not. So, you know, telling my own friends and family, like, what? If what I'm doing is upsetting you, just unfollow me. You're not going to hurt my feelings. Like, you got to take care of yourself. So that's one thing. I always have my phone on dark mode. This makes the phone slightly less interesting. And also, the light is just safer on your eyes. I also at night will put it on low light mode, which is a different thing, so that I don't hurt my eyes. That's just like physically not good for you. I was so good at this for the first 6 months of the year, and I've completely fallen out of the habit of not scrolling my phone in bed, not using my phone in bed at all. I was so good at it. I was just reading books every night to go to sleep, and it was great. And then I just like couldn't find a book that I was really interested in, and you ever like start reading a book and it kind of sucks and you don't want to finish it, but you don't want to quit on that book, so you just stop reading altogether? Yeah, that's what I did. And and then the phone snuck its way back in to the bed, so I need to get that back out again.
I haven't stopped on that one yet. I feel like I'm on a roll. I think it's been at least 2 years now where at the end of the night, I put my phone in my office and then I go into the bedroom. Like before I go into the bedroom, I put my phone in the office. Unfortunately, it snuck its way into the office because these days I'm waking up for the first time in over a decade with an alarm, which I'm very depressed about. I don't like it, but it gets me up for my niece and nephew, and I drive them to school 3 times a day, and so it's worth it.
A week? 3 times a week? 3 times a day would be really weird if you drove them to school that much.
Sure would be. And so for that reason, it is worth it, but I do not like it. I do not like waking up by an alarm clock. So, but I still don't look at it. And what I have managed to do is find a way to have some downtime in bed to decompress, as opposed to what I usually do, which is I get lazy on the couch and I fall asleep to a show, which Danny hates because we don't watch the whole show. And I'm just down there.
You don't watch the whole show. I watch the whole show.
Yes, correct. And then at some point, the show is watching me and you're like in bed being like, yo, come to bed. And I'm like, eh.
Oh, is there anything worse than waking up a grown adult to go to bed? Terrible.
No, it's not fun for me either. And I don't think it's good for my sleep hygiene. So
yeah, it's not.
Now I decompress in bed. If we want to watch something, we watch something in bed. But usually I've gravitated towards a Kindle. And the light is super soft on my eyes. Super soft. It's not even like blue light that's turned into orange light, which in my opinion is still not particularly good. Nor is having access to, once again, a device that connects you to every universe imagined and not. The Kindle is like super easy on your eyes and it's a way to decompress and still like enrich your life. And technically it's a screen, but like you're reading. So that's been helpful at night. Literally putting the phone in a different room before you go into the bedroom and finding a way to decompress once you go into the bedroom. Life-changing. I actually did. I use Facebook and Instagram way, way less than I did before. And it was really hard for me to find a way of doing that while still doing the things that I needed to do on there for our coaching business. It's an online coaching business. You don't post on the internet, you might as well not exist, you know? By the way, sign up for our email list. That thing is fantastic. We send out emails twice a week and they always are packed full of fun info. And then you can just like unfollow me on all social media. That's fine because the good stuff's in the email list. Anyway, so I batch create all the content. Anything that I post, I created it all within inside like a couple days for the month. I batch, I get all of that like preloaded and ready to post. And then I just go on once a day while I'm sitting at my computer. So I'm on my phone because it's easier to respond to things on my phone. But it's like on my to-do list for the day, like go to Facebook and answer any questions or comments that you have to do. Go to this group and answer anything that you have to. Go to Instagram and answer anything that you have to. And then that's it. I pretty much don't open those apps again for the rest of the day. So I mean, you could do the same. Even if you don't work on the internet, you could still say, you know, I check these things for 20 minutes a day. The end. You're not missing much. I promise. You know where I struggle with social media, Danny? I struggle with the guilt of I'm not showing up for myself the way that I need to be and want to be. And then I experience guilt and then I just start scrolling and roaming around on Instagram instead of going to my phone and my computer and putting the stuff on the Instagram. It's
super hard. Content, you know, a lot of people joke that content creation is like a joke of a job. I get it. It sounds like it, But it's actually, it has its challenges that other jobs might not have. You know, it also has its perks that other jobs might not have. But yeah, it's certainly, it's social media space. If you can avoid working in it, 10 out of 10. Do that.
Well, you know when you say you feel attacked? Mm-hmm. Trigger warning.
Yeah. Uh-oh, here we go.
When are we going out without our phones? I'm not kidding.
What if we get lost?
Then go to a library and hit up MapQuest and print something out and we'll find our way home.
True story, the first time that I ever met 𝐬𝐿𝐫 in person, I was driving from here, Haverhill, Massachusetts, to Brooklyn, New York, because we were going to fly out of New York City to go to Portland. It was a whole thing. It was 2008. I had MapQuested the directions, but I did not have a printer, so I had to hand write all of the directions from almost New Hampshire all the way to a particular address in Brooklyn, New York. That literally gives me anxiety thinking about it today, but I did it. And I had never been there before. Ugh. And I was like 21 years old. Yikes. See, we're just dumber. Our phones just made us all dumber with shorter attention spans. You never wonder about anything anymore because you say, oh, what is this thing that, I'll just Google it real quick. I'm the queen of I'll just Google it real quick. Like no question sits in my head for more than 20 seconds before I have found the answer. And yeah, I just feel like that can't possibly be good for us, like as a humanity. Don't let the existential dread creep in. Don't let the existential dread creep in.
Sunday? Do I hear Sunday?
Oh, you asked a question. I didn't answer it. Yeah, I don't know.
You know what I found? You want to laugh? I've legit started to leave my phone unintentionally at places. Like I'll go to check out at CVS and I left my phone on the counter and then I went to go order something from somewhere else and I came back. And part of it you could be like prep brain, but
that's exactly what it is. It's prep brain.
I disagree.
No, you didn't do that on purpose.
I think it's one of those things where I'm trying to be without my phone and I wind up unintentionally leaving it somewhere. I mean, I laughed it off. The person came out, I was like, yo, because I parked in CVS and I went to go pick up something at Grasshopper Restaurant, which is a block away. And come back, he's like, yo, you left your phone here. I just started cracking up. I was like, oh, sure, I'll grab that thing. It's like, okay, it's like that Corona commercial where you throw the phone in the river.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Maybe someone will get the reference. It's like, okay, you're on a beach, you're relaxing, you're drinking a Corona, chuck your phone in not in the river, in the ocean. Get rid of it. Just check out. I've done that on more than one occasion, and I'm starting to think about it psych-wise and saying to myself, you know what? I think I'm pushing towards finding ways to not have my phone on my person unintentionally because I want to. I went out for a coffee with my mother-in-law and I didn't mean to leave my phone home, but I did. And once I realized I did, I'm like, yes, this happened. And I didn't even plan on it. So you don't even have to make it this intentional thing where I'm gonna leave my phone home.
How would I listen to music? You know what I would love? An iPod. Anybody know where I can get an iPod, with no internet, just load my music onto it and just have my music? Because that is actually the number one reason that I have my phone on me 24/7 is because I am almost constantly listening to music that lives on my phone. So then I'll be like, oh, I don't really want to listen to this song, so I'll go pick it up to skip it. And then I'm like, oh, I have a notification from blah, 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 which is the other thing that I've done. I have shut off almost every single notification. If you go to settings, about 2/3 of the way down that page, you click notifications, you can go through and you can shut off notifications for anything you want. So I have almost no notifications turned on whatsoever. And no badges, no little numbers on my email, nothing. So that is actually something that's been really helpful because those notifications, again, they're just designed to suck you right in. So turning those off was hugely helpful. But yeah, I would love to just have my music not be connected to the device that's trying to eat my soul all the time.
See, and I don't mind it. When I am at my best or when I'm healthy, I'm using my phone intentionally for the things that it can do and not worrying about all the things that it could do and that I'll wind up engaging in it. So in other words, I use my phone for guided meditation in the morning and music, and that's all I'll use my phone for. Maybe play a game for like an hour or two. During the day, I'll use it for work, and theoretically, I'll have it set up in a way where the work apps are showing and nothing else. And I can toggle back to personal when I'm not working, and my personal screen will not put me anywhere where I don't want to be, like social media, for example. And then at night, or like at the gym, I'm using it to listen to audiobooks, which enriches my life, by the way, and I also use it as a training journal. But that's it, right? And then at night, I'm checking out from my phone entirely. And maybe I do have somewhere during the day where I'll have an hour of mindlessness to like explore everything, because I have access to everything at the touch of my fingertips. So like, I don't know. To me, that sounds like an ideal day, but also a fatiguing day digital-wise, which is why I feel like it's also kind of nice it would also be nice to have time on the weekend where none of that stuff existed. Where like legit, maybe like 4 hours on one weekend day, and then, you don't do anything on your phone, and then the other weekend day, you literally leave the house without it for a period of time. And these things will feel uncomfortable at first, but hey, there was a time where this is the way everyone lived, because there were no phones.
But back then, I walked around with my Discman all the time. I think I skipped I did have an MP3 player. It wasn't an iPod, though, because I was broke. But I did have a Discman that I beat the crap out of for years. But I always had music on me. So that's never going to change. I'm always going to be somebody who's always listening to music. So but my last tip that I find to be very helpful for me is to have a hobby that has nothing to do with a screen. Something preferably that you do just for the sake of doing, not for the sake of accomplishment or to finish a task, but just because you love to do it. If you can get lost in that activity, even better. It's so good for your brain to get into those like kind of flow states where, you're not really thinking, you're just doing. It's like back when I used to hula hoop regularly, I never felt a flow state, anything like that. I know that is like a whole new sentence, right? But hula hooping professionally, which is what I did 10 years ago or something, nothing felt like that. Like the world did not exist while I was doing that at all. And playing music when I was younger was very similar to that. As a boring old adult, it's harder to find those things, I think, for me anyway. And again, I think some of this comes down to our collectively shortened attention spans. But find something that you love. I mean, training, exercising, running, biking, yoga, gardening, playing an instrument, painting, creating art. Playing with the kids is probably like the most mindful thing that I do on a regular basis, because children force you to be present all the time. You have to be present, because if you're not, they can hurt themselves. So you're always paying attention, and everybody's going to be able to find something different. But I think having something that you absolutely don't need your phone for whatsoever, that's a hobby, is really smart thing to do.
I fully agree with you there.
So how do you guys feel about the digital space? Have you found that it's impacted your mental health, your emotional health, your physical health? Let us know what some of your favorite sort of coping strategies for this are. What are your tactics? We would love to hear you talk about this. Feel free to leave it in our Facebook group, which is the Muscles by Brussels Facebook group. If you're not a member, come on over and join. It's a cool group of people. And if you're not a Facebook user, I don't blame you. You can shoot us an email, coach@veganproteins.com, because we always love hearing from you guys. And we've been hearing from you more and more lately. And it just thrills us to know that, people are out there and interested and listening. It's a very humbling experience. So thanks, guys. All right, moving on to our question and answer segment. Giacomo, this one is for you. I only recently heard about the word natty. Am I still considered natural if I use supplements like terkesterone, Tongkat Ali, I don't even know what that is, creatine, and other supplements that are vegan friendly that claim to work like HGH that I can buy at Amazon? ?
It may or may not be HGH. I'm not sure. I'm remembering when that stuff came out back when I was in high school, and I know it was questionable. It was also one of those things that was like marketed as pro-hormone or like a precursor to pro-hormone, but in reality it wasn't, and it was actually found to be largely ineffective, and I think it still is. But I'm going off of research and gossip from 1999, 2000, 2001. So I can't speak on it. I'll wait for Danny's.
I did. I just looked it up. And there's like a million of them, so I can't speak for all of them. But this one's really popular. It's got 500 reviews. It says Prime HGH secretion activator. Yeah, it's totally natural. It's just L-arginine, lysine, some proprietary blend of garbage, glutamine, L-dopa, Mucuna pruriens.
That's dopa.
Yeah. But yeah, all of this counts as natural. I wouldn't waste my money on it. But why don't you explain what it means to be a natural athlete? Because I think that's a question a lot of people have. When I say sometimes, oh, they're a natural athlete, people think like, oh, they are like naturally gifted and are an athlete. That's not what we mean.
This is such a touchy subject because for us it's all about bodybuilding, right? But like bodybuilders get very particular about what they do when they label.
But what does it mean?
I'm getting to it.
Okay.
Natural versus unnatural. If I were to draw a line in the sand, I would say you're unnatural if you're taking steroids. There's no question about it. Mm-hmm. If you are taking something like, I don't even know the name.
When you say steroids, you mean hormones, testosterone boosters or estrogen blockers, right?
Exactly. Okay. I think it's a gray area when you come to androstenediol, like a pro-hormone. Technically, it's not natural. Like, that stuff's going to metabolize, and it's going to turn into testosterone, and, you might as well just take the testosterone instead of letting that stuff go through your kidneys and liver and, damaging. You might as well just take the steroid.
But if you do, you're not natural.
Correct.
So, yeah, natural means someone who's not taking performance-enhancing drugs.
At all.
At all.
But, again, there are gray areas here, like pro-hormones. They just are. I'm sorry. I feel that way. Like DHEA, for example.
And like SARMs. SARMs were considered natural, and then a couple of years ago, people were like, whoa, no, they're not. And then so the banned substance list is made by WADA, WADA, and it's updated regularly because stuff changes all the time.
Right. But here's where I feel like it's a topic of debate. There is what's generally accepted as natural, and that's being WADA compliant, and then scrutinizing the WADA list and being even more compliant than that, meaning like, say you go to a natural bodybuilding organization, they'll throw other things at you, being like, well, this is what WADA says, and we have some other things that we want to add to it before WADA adds to it, or they just don't see it as an issue. And the details don't matter. Right. But it's like, this stimulant, for example. Like geranium flower, like maybe it's not on the WADA ban list, but it's on the natural bodybuilding ban list. That is not a true statement. That's just an example for argument's sake. So, it's, if you're looking at a natural bodybuilding organization, they'll scrutinize the WADA list even harder. If you're looking at WADA, they'll throw things in there that arguably, in my opinion, are a gray area for various reasons. Say you have low testosterone. Say that you are a cancer patient that's in remission.
Well, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is correct, in general, WADA will allow you to take testosterone if I don't know any professional athletes who just have low testosterone, but if you had low testosterone, they'll let you take it into a normal range. In natural bodybuilding, let's say you clinically, a doctor has diagnosed you with low testosterone, which has really crappy health implications, right? In natural bodybuilding, you cannot take any testosterone, even if it puts you at the bare minimum of the normal range. You cannot take it at all, ever, no matter what.
I want to say it depends on the organization. I feel like there's an organization out there.
There might be one, but the big ones, absolutely not.
There are exceptions, but these are the general rules.
exceptions in the organizations. But yeah, like same thing for women. If you get diagnosed with low testosterone or high estrogen, you may very well have those medical conditions. But if you want to compete in natural bodybuilding, tough noogies. You can't take anything to do that. And I actually have mixed feelings about that because, and I understand why they do it, right? Because you're playing with fire when people start taking any of this, but how can you ask people to live with a medical condition just to come win your shitty $2 trophy?
Well, it's stupid because people will game the system. They'll game it no matter what. But if you blur the lines, if you play in the gray too much, it will give people too much leeway and they'll justify them gaming the system and being like, look, you weren't clear. So I'm not putting all the blame on the organizations and saying like they're too anal retentive about it, although technically I think there's some element of that.
Yeah, I don't think they're too anal retentive. It's just some of the stuff, just like you, I don't always agree with it.
But there's no perfect system. Again, you will have people that will abuse any system. And then you have people that get caught up and are unfortunately victims of technicalities. Like, for example, a drug that can help you shed water can also help you with your acne. And if you're taking it, all of a sudden you're screwed.
I had a client that she was her first show or her second show or something. She won her pro card. Once you win your pro card, you go get pee tested. They did a urinalysis. She tested positive for spironolactone, which she takes for acne, but it happens to be on the banned substance list, and she almost didn't get her pro card. Now, spironolactone is a testosterone blocker. That's why it helps acne, right? Because a lot of acne is caused in part by high testosterone. So like, that's so crazy to me. You're going to penalize a bodybuilder for taking a testosterone blocker? What? Like, that's so dumb, but that is what it is. So when people talk about natural bodybuilding, this is what we're talking about. So this guy who asked this question, all the things that he mentioned are fine. Creatine, totally fine. Most herbal supplements, most stuff that you can just walk into a vitamin shop and buy, most, not all, most stuff would keep you in the natural bodybuilding.
So the moral
category.
of the story here is, as far as how you identify, yeah, sure, natural. Should you want to take this to a competitive level and compete with an organization, start to pay attention to what you're doing, because there are boundaries. The cool thing, though, is that the ones that are like, duh, don't do this, like don't shoot up or don't like take a pill that is straight up test, there's longer bans on that, like 7 years. And the
or
stuff
10 years. I think INBF is 10 years now, 10-year ban.
And then the stuff that is more of a gray area, it's more like don't do this stuff for 2 years. So they're not, they are trying to support you as an athlete should you want to come and play by their rules.
Yeah, and there are some people who, maybe they were 20 years old and they were dumb and they took something that's on the banned substance list. Like, they're not trying to be jerks and kick you out forever. Although there absolutely is research to support that once you've taken steroids and you've built that muscle on steroids, you will lose it when you stop taking steroids, but you'll probably always have a little bit more than if you hadn't taken them in the first place. Steroids are a super, super fascinating topic to me.
Well, you should see the conversations people have like that. They're like, yo, I'm going to juice for the next 5 years. I'm going to grow my body, and then I'm going to stop for the next 10 years, and then I'm going to compete because I could do that.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of ways to manipulate systems and like show up your best as a natty athlete and do it with like, we'll say malicious intent.
Yeah. And that's why you'll hear sometimes people will refer to themselves as a lifetime natty because it means not only are they natural now, it means they've never taken anything, deliberately off of the banned substance list. Like 𝐃𝐨𝐧'𝐭, way back when it was legal and totally allowed, took ephedra, right?
As well as androstenediol.
Okay. Yeah, I don't even know what that is.
It's the pro hormone, the pre-cord, like the Mark McGuire, 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐞 crap. That stuff. I took it for 28 days and then another 14 days back to back.
But I'd still call you a lifetime natty because all of that stuff was perfectly allowed back then. So anyway, man, I don't even know if we have to do another question because that was the longest, funnest answer ever.
I want to keep going. I do.
This has nothing to do with digital wellness, but great question. What does it mean to be a natural athlete? It does not just mean you're gifted. It means you don't take drugs.
All right, everybody, thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of Vegan Proteins Muscles by Brussels Radio. Feel free to stay in touch with us at Vegan Proteins and at Muscles by Brussels on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all the major social media channels. And please do remember to check out the show notes and use that link to donate to Plant Built's fundraiser. It would mean the world to us, and you get to be a part of history in the making and get some sweet swag as well. Once again, my name's 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐿,
And I'm Danny.
and we'll talk to you soon.